Now, there is this laughable proposal that one of the candidates in NASA should try to negotiate with Uhuru Kenyatta. When he talks about one of the candidates, he is actually targeting Kalonzo Musyoka, because Ngunyi somehow believes that it is possible to influence Kalonzo to bolt out of NASA. The other day he said that Kalonzo would bolt out of NASA. It didn't happen. He then said that Kalonzo Musyoka is going to conspire with Mudavadi to outfox Raila within NASA. It didn't happen. In fact, since then, NASA has already signed an agreement that they are united against Jubilee. So he's trying to encourage Kalonzo Musyoka to negotiate with Jubilee. I mean, what is there to negotiate? Because Jubilee is already having a presidential candidate and a running mate, who is Ruto. So when you are trying to encourage, one of the candidates to negotiate for positions in the coming government, I mean, trying to negotiate the future, yet these same candidates, they have seen the trickery of Jubilee. The Kalenjin, led by Ruto, actually negotiated with the government to share power on a 50-50 basis. But what happened? When the Mount Kenya mafia cartel seized power, they first of all sidelined the Kalenjin. They boxed Ruto into a corner by helping him to campaign for his ICC case. Then they went in and, began to distribute, the so-called development projects within Central Province. The Kalenjin basically have walked out of this coalition government empty-handed, and yet this was written down. They wrote it on a piece of paper that once they take power, they are going to share power on a 50-50 basis. Now look at the constitution of the cabinet. Look at the appointments in the parastatals. Even at the sharing of power level, where are the Kalenjin? We don't see them in the cabinet, and they don't occupy positions in the parastatals. Majority of the Kalenjins who are appointed in government have actually been sacked from the government. So how can Ngunyi be encouraging the NASA principles to go, and what are you going to negotiate? Who doesn't know the Mount Kenya mafia ruling cartel? You sit down with them on a table, you negotiate, you even sign pieces of papers as part of that deal. And once they get to power, I mean, they simply, do their own thing. Ask Mudavadi. It is Mudavadi who came up with the name of Jubilee, if you don't know. They negotiated an agreement that Mudavadi is a presidential candidate, but what happened when the Kikuyu grassroots rebelled and told, Uhuru Kenyatta that if you are not the president, we are going to vote for Raila Odinga? What happened?
Honorable Uhuru stated categorically that he had been reflecting on the state of affairs in the country and found it necessary to make a major personal sacrifice. That after consultation, he had decided to withdraw his candidature and wished to support me as the coalition candidate for president.
Uhuru Kenyatta called Mudavadi a devil, and it is on record. This is not an allegation. It is not a speculation, the way Ngunyi continues to speculate all the time. This is a fact. And Mudavadi has learned his lessons. Mudavadi produced papers they signed with Uhuru Kenyatta saying that he would be the presidential candidate. But these papers were simply rubbished. So what is there to negotiate? What is Mudavadi or Kalonzo going to negotiate? I mean, don't try to tell me that Raila can sit with Uhuru Kenyatta to negotiate. And this is what he's telling us, that Raila should negotiate with Uhuru, or Kalonzo should negotiate with Uhuru Kenyatta, or Mudavadi, of all the people. Surely. This is what Mutahi Ngunyi is saying, and nobody seems to be challenging him. And that is why it is important to underline the fact that Mutahi Ngunyi fooling Kenyans, especially members of the Kikuyu community who agree with him. One of the key planks of Mutahi Ngunyi's agenda or Mutahi Ngunyi's brief is to try and split NASA. And in one of his videos, he's trying to encourage the idea that Kalonzo Musyoka, Wetangula, and Mudavadi, including Raila Odinga, should run their own presidential races. And then in that scenario, they might force a rerun with Uhuru Kenyatta. I mean, this is the agenda of Jubilee, split up NASA. And by putting up this kind of suggestion, the background is that Mutahi should encourage various individuals in NASA to run their own races. And once they do so, obviously, the votes are going to be split into pieces, creating an opportunity for Uhuru Kenyatta to win the election. And unfortunately, it looks like the NASA stalwarts, they understand this. They understand that anybody who is going it alone is going to lose. One, Kalonzo cannot mobilize a national following. And the same case applies to Wetangula. The same case applies to Mudavadi. The only person who is capable of garnering a national following amongst the three is Raila Odinga. If they follow what Mutahi Ngunyi is saying, what will happen is that Wetangula's supporters will vote for him, thereby splitting the Luya vote, while Mudavadi's supporters will vote for him, thereby splitting the Luya vote into two. Of course, assuming that the Kamba voters vote for Kalonzo Musyoka and the Luos vote for Raila Odinga. This will be the perfect scenario in which Uhuru Kenyatta is going to win this election. The agenda of Ngunyi is to ensure that the opposition splits up to create an opportunity for Uhuru Kenyatta even not to win but to rig elections. It will be so easy for Uhuru to rig elections once these guys run concurrently. And this is why Mutahi Ngunyi is encouraging them to try and, do so. It's part of Mutahi Ngunyi's brief that try to split these guys up. Because if these guys cannot be split up, there is no way Uhuru Kenyatta is going to win this election. There is no way that Jubilee is going to win this election. But this strategy of trying to encourage these individuals is not going to work. Why? Because these individuals understand that it is impossible for NASA to beat Jubilee if they stand as separate candidates. In fact, the Jubilee will be at a better position to unite around, the remnants of Jubilee votes in the Rift Valley, together with the remnants of Jubilee votes in Central Province, to beat any candidate who goes it alone. This is the point. And this is what Mutahi Ngunyi is trying to do. He is trying deliberately to encourage a split within the opposition so that Uhuru can win the election